I thought the alert was a glitch. Then another one came. By the time the fifth credit card showed up on my report, I realized someone had stolen my identity, and the thief was sleeping beside me every night. They say marriage is built on trust. I believed that. For nearly 7 years, I lived by it. Life with Rachel wasn't perfect, but I thought we were on the same side. We had our routines, coffee together in the morning, shared grocery runs on weekends, budgeting talks every month. I handled the spreadsheets, she handled the food. We joked that I was the nerd with the numbers and she was the one with taste. I didn't think twice when she needed my ID to update some paperwork for the car insurance, or when she asked for my social security number just in case for a bank form. We shared everything, so why wouldn't I trust her? Lately, though, money had been a sore subject. Rachel had picked up more freelance gigs, but it didn't seem to help much. Packages still arrived at the door almost daily. Sometimes I'd glance at them and wonder, when did we agree on buying this? But I kept those questions to myself. I didn't want to seem controlling. I thought maybe I was just being too uptight. That night I was sitting on the couch, half watching TV, half scrolling through emails, when I saw the alert from my credit monitoring app. New credit card account opened in your name. At first I assumed it was a mistake. I hadn't applied for anything. Maybe a bank error. It had happened once before when my cousin tried to add me as an authorized user. I tapped on it, thinking I'd just call the number in the morning. 5 minutes later, another alert popped up. Then another. By the time the fifth one hit, my chest had tightened. My fingers hovered over my phone as I read the details. 5 new credit card applications, all using my name, my social, my address. All approved. I froze. I looked over at Rachel. She was on the other end of the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. I wanted to ask her if she knew anything, but the words caught in my throat. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, but somewhere deep inside, something started to shift, something heavy, something cold. I couldn't sleep that night. I just laid there in bed, staring at the ceiling, the glow from my phone lighting up the sheets every few minutes. I kept checking the app, hoping the alerts would stop. They didn't. Rachel was next to me, breathing slow and steady, her back turned. She looked peaceful, but my mind was spinning. The first alert had come from a card company I'd never used before. Then Chase. Then Capital One. One by one, like dominoes falling. The amounts weren't huge, just a few $100s on each, but they were active. Someone had used them almost immediately after opening them. And each one had my full name and correct social security number. I didn't want to believe what was starting to form in my head. I tried to think of any other possibility. Maybe someone had hacked my email or stolen my info online. That made more sense. Right. The next morning, I called the fraud department. I spoke with 3 different agents. They all said the same thing. The applications were made online. The addresses matched mine. The phone number listed? Mine. But one card rep let something slip. He said the IP address used for the application came from my home Wi-Fi. That hit me like a brick. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the phone, feeling like I was underwater. Everything sounded distant. The walls around me didn't feel familiar anymore. Even the air felt heavier. Rachel came into the room, brushing her hair and sipping coffee. She smiled and asked, "Everything okay?" I hesitated. My mouth opened, but no words came out. I nodded and said, "Yeah, just a weird work call." I hated lying, but I needed more time. I needed to be sure. After she left for the store, I opened my laptop. I started checking our router logs, something I'd only done once before during a tech issue months ago, and there it was. The time stamps lined up. The same MAC address, the same device she always used. My wife's laptop. 5 separate applications, all from inside our house. I felt sick. I still wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. A part of me wanted to believe there was a logical explanation, but logic was starting to lose its grip. Something inside me had cracked, and I wasn't sure it could be fixed. By the 3rd day, I had a folder on my desktop named Evidence. That wasn't something a husband should ever need to build against his wife. Each card had its own subfolder. Screenshots of transaction logs, PDFs of the approval emails, call notes. Everything was there. I wasn't acting like a betrayed partner anymore. I was thinking like an investigator, and I hated it. I tracked the first card to a $200 purchase at a department store. then another for $300 at a cosmetics website, a food delivery bill, even a boutique shop I recognized. Rachel had mentioned it once, saying it was too pricey for her to shop at. I guess she changed her mind. With every discovery, I hoped it would be the last, but it never was. The list grew, and with it, so did the sinking feeling in my gut. This wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. And she was careful, using small amounts, spreading out the spending, choosing vendors that wouldn't raise alarms. If I hadn't set up that monitoring app months ago when I refinanced my car, I might not have found out at all. That thought chilled me. I still hadn't said a word to her. Rachel was acting normal, almost too normal. She laughed at my jokes, made dinner, even suggested we plan a weekend getaway. I stared at her during those moments, wondering who I'd really married. Was she pretending? Did she think I was too blind to notice? Or was she just that confident I'd never suspect her? I wanted to confront her. God, I wanted to just say it. Why did you do this? But I couldn't yet. Something in me needed all the pieces lined up. I wasn't ready to be wrong, or worse, right. That night, I called the last credit card company again. I asked the rep if he could verify something for me, something specific. The date and time the application was submitted. He gave it to me. I checked my phone photos from that day. We were home. I had taken a picture of the lasagna she made for dinner. The timestamp matched. She was in the kitchen, opening a credit card in my name while I was setting the table. That realization broke something in me. I think a part of me already knew. I just didn't want to admit it. Not out loud, not even in my own head. But now all the signs were lined up in front of me like pieces of a twisted puzzle. I spent the next morning digging deeper. I wasn't looking for more charges, I had found enough. I needed final confirmation, something undeniable, something I couldn't rationalize away. I checked our shared cloud storage. Rachel often saved screenshots and invoices there, mostly for her freelance clients. I typed in the names of the banks from the credit card alerts. And there it was, a folder labeled Documents Temp. Inside were scans of my driver's license, a blurry shot of my social security card, and an email draft saved in her notes app with the subject, Credit Card Confirmation Barclay. She hadn't even deleted it. I sat there staring at the screen, the hum of the refrigerator in the background suddenly louder than ever. This was real. She did it. Not a hacker, not a stranger. Rachel, my wife. I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat. I got up and paced the room, hands shaking. My chest was tight. I wanted to scream, punch something, cry, but all I could do was breathe heavily and try not to fall apart. I remembered the vows we took, the promises we made, the nights we stayed up talking about building a future together, and now this. I sat back down, eyes burning, and opened the folder again. It felt surreal, like I was looking at someone else's life unraveling, but it was mine. When Rachel came home that afternoon, I watched her walk through the door like I was seeing her for the first time. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and told me the store had a sale on candles. I nodded, barely able to respond. My heart was pounding, my jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I had to say something. I had to confront her, but not with anger, not yet. I needed clarity. I needed to hear it from her mouth. That night after dinner, I sat her down at the kitchen table. There was no going back now. She was mid-sentence when I stopped her. Rachel, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Her smile faded. Okay, what's going on? I took a breath. My heart felt like it was trying to crawl out of my chest. I reached over and opened the laptop. The folder was already queued up. I turned the screen toward her. What is this? She blinked, confused at first. Then her eyes flicked across the screen. My license, the credit card approvals, the IP logs. Her face changed in an instant. Not shock, not confusion, just stillness, like a frozen screen before it crashes. She didn't speak. Rachel, I said again, my voice breaking, you used my information. You opened 5 credit cards in my name. You spent money like it was nothing, and you didn't even tell me. Still nothing. Why, I asked, my voice quieter now. Why would you do this to me? Finally, she looked up. Her eyes were glassy, but she wasn't crying. I didn't mean to hurt you. I almost laughed. I felt my hands curl into fists on the table. You didn't mean to hurt me. You stole from me. Her lips trembled. I didn't see it like that. I needed help. Things were slipping out of control. The bills, my credit, mine was trashed. And I didn't want you to think I was a failure. I thought I could fix it before you ever noticed. I stared at her stunned. So you decided to tank my credit instead. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she whispered. I thought I could make the payments, keep it quiet. I was going to pay them off. But you didn't, I said. You lied, you used me. And now we're sitting here and all I can think about is how I don't even know who you are anymore. Her face crumpled then. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. I trusted you with everything, I said, standing up. My life, my name, and you threw it away for a couple $1,000s. She sobbed, burying her face in her hands, but I couldn't comfort her, not this time. I walked out of the kitchen, out of the house, and sat in the car. I didn't drive anywhere, I just needed space. I needed to breathe. Because nothing was ever going to be the same again. I sat in the car for over an hour, staring out at the quiet street, watching the shadows shift as the sun disappeared. I couldn't go back inside yet. I didn't want to look at her. I didn't want to hear more excuses or half-truths. But eventually, I knew I had to face the rest of it. This wasn't just about the cards. This was about trust, about the foundation of our marriage, and whether it had already collapsed without me realizing. When I walked back inside, Rachel was sitting at the edge of the couch, her eyes red and swollen, a blanket wrapped tightly around her shoulders like armor. She didn't look up. I'm sorry, she whispered again. I didn't respond. I sat across from her and stared. Tell me everything, I said. Not just what you think I want to hear, all of it. She swallowed hard, then nodded. It started almost a year ago. Her freelance work had dried up and she hadn't told me. She said she didn't want to stress me out. I was working long hours trying to pay down the last of our student loans. She thought she could ride it out, maybe pick up more gigs, sell a few things online. But instead she fell behind on her own credit cards. Missed payments, fees, calls from collectors. She said she felt embarrassed, cornered. I didn't know what else to do, she said, her voice shaking. I saw your credit was good and I thought, just a little help just to cover a few things. I never planned to keep going, but then it got easier, too easy. She looked up at me, and for the first time in days, I saw something raw behind her eyes, shame. There's more, she added. I took out a small loan too, in your name, just one. I closed my eyes. My chest felt like it was caving in. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was the betrayal, the months of lies, the way she smiled at me every day while quietly burning down everything we'd built together. I asked to see everything, bank statements, emails, loan paperwork. She hesitated at first, but then opened her laptop and handed it to me. She knew the damage was already done. For the next 2 hours, I scrolled through it all. And with every click, I felt myself drifting further away from the woman I thought I knew. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. I hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out, my mind constantly replaying everything Rachel had told me. I sat at the kitchen table again, alone this time. A mug of cold coffee sat untouched in front of me, and a notepad lay open beside it. I had one goal now, take control of the mess she'd made. I called each credit card company one by one, explained the situation, fraud, identity theft, unauthorized accounts. Some were understanding, others were suspicious. I had to send in forms, copies of my ID, and written statements. One rep told me, we'll open an investigation, but since this was done from your IP, it might be considered domestic misuse, not fraud. Domestic misuse. That phrase stuck with me. It wasn't just cold, it was personal. It meant they might not clear me, that I might be stuck with debt I never asked for. Then came the calls to the credit bureaus. I requested freezes, disputes, fraud alerts, every safeguard I could think of. I rechecked my monitoring system and upgraded it. I even scheduled an appointment with a credit counselor. Rachel kept to herself that day. She didn't try to explain, didn't try to apologize again. She just moved quietly around the house like a ghost. I think she knew I needed space. Or maybe she realized there wasn't much she could say anymore. Later that night, she came into the living room while I was sorting through statements. I can call them too, she said softly. Tell them it was me. Maybe they'll remove it from your record. I looked up at her. She meant it. I could see the regret in her eyes, but it didn't erase what she'd done. You should have thought about that before you signed my name, I said. Now I'm the one left cleaning it all up. She nodded, tears forming again. I know. I didn't yell, I didn't lash out. I was too tired for that, too numb. For years, I thought of Rachel as my partner, my equal, my safe place. But now she felt like a stranger, and I couldn't tell if this distance between us was temporary or permanent. As I closed the last folder of the night, one question burned at the back of my mind. How do you rebuild trust when the person you love tore it down piece by piece? The following week passed in a blur: calls, paperwork, long silences, and cold dinners. Rachel and I barely spoke unless we had to. It wasn't out of anger anymore, it was something worse: emptiness. Like two people coexisting in the same space but no longer tethered by love, only by shared damage. I made progress with the credit card companies. Two agreed to close the accounts and label them as fraud, pending further review. One was still undecided. The others weren't budging. My credit score had already dropped by over 100 points. I could have raged. I could have walked out and never looked back. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down and made a list, not of tasks, but boundaries. I called Rachel into the living room. She sat across from me, nervous, her hands folded tightly in her lap. We're going to have to talk about what happens next, I said. My voice was calm but firm. She nodded, eyes wide. I know. I took a breath. If we're going to move forward, then we need structure, honesty, no more secrets, no more hiding, and full financial transparency from now on. I agree, she whispered. I'm changing all passwords. I'll handle the bills until further notice. You'll contact the banks and admit to what you did. No excuses, and you'll sign a repayment agreement. Her face paled at that last part. It's not about the money, I added. It's about responsibility. If you want me to even consider rebuilding anything with you, you need to show that you're willing to earn that trust back. Rachel didn't argue, she just nodded, slowly, then tears streamed down her cheeks. I'll do whatever it takes. A part of me wanted to believe her. Another part stayed guarded. That night I moved into the guest room. It wasn't a punishment. It was space. Space I needed to think, to feel the full weight of what had happened, and decide if this marriage still had a heartbeat. I stared at the ceiling again. Just like that first night, the alerts came through. Only now the silence wasn't filled with suspicion. It was filled with decisions. Lines had been drawn, and now we had to choose which side of them we stood on. 2 weeks later, things were different. Not better, not worse, just different. Rachel made the calls. I sat nearby during each one. She confessed everything to the banks, explained what she'd done, and asked for the accounts to be closed in her name instead. Some were cooperative, others weren't, but she followed through. That mattered. She started seeing a therapist, too. She didn't tell me much about it, and I didn't ask. I figured if this healing thing was going to work, it had to be done honestly and individually, not just together. Meanwhile, I was still in damage control mode, checking my credit reports daily, fielding new calls, sorting through letters. I talked to a lawyer and a financial advisor. They both said the same thing: there's no easy fix. The paper trail might be corrected over time, but the emotional one, that was mine to deal with. And God, it was heavy. But one night I caught Rachel sitting at the dining table, crying quietly over a spreadsheet. She was building a budget, a repayment plan. I didn't say anything. I just watched from the hallway. It was the first time I saw effort instead of guilt. That didn't erase what she did, but it meant she was trying. We finally sat down again, this time with less anger, more honesty. I know you probably can't forgive me, she said, eyes locked on the floor. But I hope someday you can trust me again, even a little. I didn't answer right away. I thought about everything: the betrayal, the lies, the pain, but also the late nights she stayed up fixing what she broke, the way she never once blamed me, and how she chose to come clean when it would have been easier to keep lying. I don't know what the future looks like for us, I said quietly, but I know I'm not ready to give up yet. She looked at me then, surprised. We have a long way to go, I added, but if we keep walking in the same direction, maybe we'll make it. Rachel nodded. A tear slipped down her cheek, and this time I didn't pull my hand away. It wasn't a happy ending, not yet. But maybe it was a new beginning. 6 months have passed. The scars are still there, on my credit report, on our marriage, in the quiet moments when I still wonder what else she may have hidden. But time has a strange way of softening sharp edges, turning raw wounds into faded reminders. We've changed, both of us. Rachel followed through on every step of the repayment plan. She picked up a full-time job, stopped all personal spending, and even managed to pay off one of the smaller cards completely. Every dollar she earns now goes toward cleaning up the mess she made. But it's not the money that matters most. It's the consistency. The way she shows up every day. The way she checks in with me before making even the smallest decision. The way she admits without defensiveness when she's feeling overwhelmed. That version of her, the one willing to fight for our future instead of hiding from it, is someone I hadn't seen in a long time. As for me, I've grown too. I no longer take trust for granted. I double-check everything. I keep our finances separate for now. I still monitor every account, every alert, every small change. Some might say that's paranoia. I call it protection. I've also started therapy. At first, I thought it was just to deal with the financial betrayal. But it's helped me unravel things deeper than that. My need to always feel in control, my fear of being blindsided again, and the part of me that still believes I failed somehow by not noticing sooner. The truth is, healing doesn't come in a straight line. Some days we laugh like nothing ever happened. Other days I'll see an unfamiliar charge and freeze, my heart pounding, ready for war. But most days we just take it one moment at a time. Do I trust her completely again? No, not yet. But I trust the work she's putting in, and I trust the person I'm becoming because of what we went through. It's strange to say this, but I think we're stronger than we were before. Not because of what happened, but because we chose to stay and rebuild after it did. Love isn't blind. Sometimes it sees everything and still stays. Maybe that's the bravest part of all.